Frustration is a universal experience, a potent blend of anger, disappointment, and helplessness that arises when our desires or expectations are thwarted. The Stoics, ancient philosophers known for their wisdom and practical approach to life, offer a powerful toolkit for dealing with frustration by changing our perspective and focusing on what is within our control. The first step in overcoming frustration is to recognize that it is not external events that disturb us, but rather our judgments about these events. As Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound insight lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. When frustration strikes, it is essential to pause and reflect on the nature of our expectations. Are they realistic, or are they based on assumptions about how the world should be, rather than how it actually is? By examining and adjusting our expectations, we can often prevent frustration before it even begins. For example, if we expect every day to go smoothly, without obstacles or challenges, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. The Stoics teach us to anticipate difficulties as a natural part of life, rather than an aberration. This shift in mindset allows us to face challenges with equanimity, viewing them not as unfair disruptions, but as opportunities to practice resilience and patience. A critical Stoic practice in managing frustration is the cultivation of detachment, or what the Stoics refer to as apatheia. This concept, often misunderstood as indifference, is actually about maintaining emotional composure and inner peace regardless of external circumstances. The Stoics recognized that most things in life are beyond our control: the actions of others, the outcomes of our efforts, and even the unfolding of events in the world around us. What we can control, however, is our own response to these events. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, emphasized this in his Meditations, where he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When faced with frustration, a Stoic would advise stepping back and asking, "Is this within my power to change?" If the answer is no, then the logical response is to let go of the desire to change it and instead focus on what can be controlled: your thoughts, attitudes, and actions. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation, but rather a disciplined focus on what truly matters and what is within your realm of influence. By practicing detachment, you can approach situations with a clear mind, reducing the emotional turbulence that often accompanies frustration and allowing you to act with greater wisdom and effectiveness. Patience is another virtue extolled by the Stoics, and it is a crucial antidote to frustration. In our fast-paced, results-driven world, it is easy to become frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as we would like. However, the Stoics remind us that many aspects of life unfold in their own time, beyond our control. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher and statesman, observed, "Time heals what reason cannot." This insight underscores the importance of patience, not just as a passive waiting, but as an active practice of enduring and persevering in the face of difficulties. When frustration arises from unmet expectations or delayed outcomes, patience allows us to remain calm and composed, trusting that time will bring resolution. The Stoics also emphasize the value of patience in relationships and interactions with others. People may not always behave as we expect or desire, but by cultivating patience, we can navigate these situations with understanding and compassion rather than frustration. Patience also fosters resilience, as it teaches us to endure discomfort without becoming disheartened. In this way, patience transforms frustration into a form of strength, a testament to our ability to remain steadfast in the face of adversity. Another powerful Stoic strategy for managing frustration is the practice of amor fati, or the love of fate. This concept, central to Stoic thought, involves embracing everything that happens to us, good or bad, as necessary and beneficial for our growth. Rather than resisting or resenting circumstances that do not align with our desires, the Stoics encourage us to accept and even love our fate, seeing it as part of a larger, purposeful design. Nietzsche, who was heavily influenced by Stoicism, later echoed this idea when he wrote, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." When we adopt the mindset of amor fati, frustration loses its power because we no longer see challenges as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and self-improvement. This doesn't mean that we passively accept all events without trying to change what we can. Instead, it means that we stop wasting energy on wishing things were different and start focusing on how to make the best of the situation as it is. By loving our fate, we align ourselves with the natural order of the world, finding peace and contentment even in the midst of difficulties. This approach transforms frustration into a source of motivation, driving us to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient with each challenge we face. Maintaining perspective is another essential Stoic practice for dealing with frustration. The Stoics encourage us to view our problems from a broader context, reminding us that most of the things that upset us are trivial in the grand scheme of things. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the vastness of the universe and the fleeting nature of human life as a way to diminish the importance of everyday irritations. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." By keeping this perspective in mind, we can see how small and insignificant many of our frustrations truly are. This doesn't mean that our feelings are invalid or that we should ignore them, but rather that we should not allow them to dominate our thoughts and actions. When you are frustrated, try to zoom out and consider the situation in the context of your entire life, or even in the context of human history. Ask yourself, will this matter a week from now? A year from now? In the grand scheme of things, how significant is this issue? By putting your frustration into perspective, you can often reduce its emotional impact, making it easier to respond with calm and rationality rather than anger or despair. The practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, is another powerful Stoic tool for dealing with frustration. This involves mentally preparing yourself for potential difficulties before they arise, so that when they do occur, you are not caught off guard. The Stoics believed that by anticipating challenges, you could reduce their impact on your emotions and respond more effectively. Seneca advised, "Rehearse death," meaning that by contemplating the worst possible outcomes, you can lessen their emotional impact if they happen. This doesn't mean dwelling on negative thoughts or becoming pessimistic, but rather being realistic about the fact that life is unpredictable and often difficult. By preparing yourself mentally for challenges, you build resilience and reduce the likelihood of being overwhelmed by frustration when things don't go as planned. This practice also helps you appreciate the good things in your life, as you are more aware of how fragile and temporary they can be. When frustration arises, remind yourself that you have already considered this possibility and are prepared to handle it. This foresight gives you a sense of control and calm, even in the face of adversity, allowing you to navigate challenges with greater ease and less emotional turmoil. Gratitude is another powerful Stoic practice for managing frustration. The Stoics teach us that by focusing on what we have, rather than on what we lack, we can cultivate a sense of contentment and peace that shields us from frustration. Epictetus reminds us, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." When we focus on our blessings, we shift our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. This simple but profound shift can have a transformative effect on our experience of frustration. When you find yourself frustrated, take a moment to reflect on the things you are grateful for: your health, your relationships, your opportunities, and even the small pleasures of daily life. By practicing gratitude, you can counterbalance the negative emotions associated with frustration, reducing their intensity and helping you maintain a more positive and constructive outlook. Gratitude also grounds you in the present moment, making it easier to appreciate what you have rather than fixating on what is missing or what has gone wrong. This practice not only alleviates frustration, but also enhances your overall sense of well-being and happiness. The discipline of desire is another key Stoic principle that can help you deal with frustration. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from wanting things to be different from how they are. By practicing the discipline of desire, you learn to limit your wants to what is necessary and within your control. This reduces the likelihood of frustration because you are no longer constantly striving for things that are beyond your reach or that depend on the actions of others. Epictetus advised, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This means accepting that you won't always get what you want, and that's okay. By focusing on what is essential and attainable, you can align your desires with reality, reducing the gap between expectation and outcome that so often leads to frustration. This doesn't mean giving up on your goals or ambitions, but rather being realistic about what you can achieve and finding satisfaction in what you have rather than constantly yearning for more. By disciplining your desires, you create a more stable and contented inner life, one that is less vulnerable to the ups and downs of external circumstances. Self-reflection is another vital Stoic practice for managing frustration. The Stoics believed that by regularly examining your thoughts and actions, you could gain greater insight into your emotions and develop the self-awareness needed to manage them effectively. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This means that your thoughts and attitudes shape your character and your experience of the world. By reflecting on your day-to-day experiences, particularly the moments when you felt frustrated, you can identify patterns in your behavior and learn to respond differently in the future. For example, you might notice that certain situations or people consistently trigger frustration in you. By recognizing these patterns, you can begin to change your reactions, either by adjusting your expectations or by finding new ways to cope with challenging situations. Self-reflection also helps you learn from your mistakes and grow as a person, turning frustration into a source of personal development rather than a source of suffering. This practice requires honesty and humility, as you must be willing to confront your flaws and work to improve them. But over time, it can lead to greater emotional resilience and a deeper sense of inner peace. Finally, the Stoics teach us to remember the impermanence of all things, including frustration. Nothing in life is permanent, not even the most intense emotions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." This insight helps us recognize that our emotions, including frustration, are fleeting and subjective experiences, not objective realities. When you are frustrated, remind yourself that this feeling is temporary and will pass. By focusing on the transient nature of frustration, you can prevent yourself from becoming overwhelmed by it. Instead of getting caught up in the emotion, observe it as a passing cloud, knowing that it too will dissipate with time. This perspective allows you to maintain your composure and continue moving forward, even in the face of difficulties. It also helps you cultivate a sense of detachment from your emotions, recognizing that they are not an inherent part of who you are, but rather temporary states that come and go. By embracing the impermanence of frustration, you free yourself from its grip and regain control over your thoughts and actions.